Katie, hey,
Hello.
how's it going? Kirk will be back in 1 second.
Hey.
Whoa, wait, what's going on? How do you have like sparkles or something on your screen right now?
I have the Snap camera right now, which is bringing me a small amount
I
of
have
joy.
some. I have some snap cameras too. You wanna enter the void?
Yeah.
Oh, give me a second.
Well, that's just yellow, Kirk. That's not a camera.
No, this is the best filter. You gotta give me a second.
Yeah.
I'm kind of very partial to this one.
Oh, yeah. It matches your outfit.
Yeah, it does. All right, we'll leave this on for a little bit.
Perfect.
I do not have a snap camera. I will keep on normal, so I'll let y'all be.
Well, enjoy your normal scene.
So,
I'm
Katie,
voice.
Katie, where are you calling from?
I am at my apartment at my desk. Yep, desk different from the rest of my apartment because I'm trying to compartmentalize all the little areas.
Do you have like a studio or one bedroom, or like how do you section it off?
Yeah, it's a studio and I'm kind of in the corner. Bed is across from me, but I don't look at it, which just look at the wall and the monitor.
You've been freelancing for about a year, 2 years, 3 years, 2 years,
4 years?
1 year, 5 years?
It's been a year and a half now, or something like that.
What's since you've been working a mix of remote and then on site with some of your customers, clients, what's kind of the biggest change since you've already kind of been working remote without an office for a while? What's been the biggest change for you?
I think so. Right before this started, I was working from offices, and so I'm kind of shifting back into remote work, but which was sort of already my plan for my current clients. But I think one of the biggest changes is that now I'm not the only one who's remote. So I'm observing everyone else going through what I've already adjusted to, except under more extreme and traumatic circumstances. And I think also it's just, I think I've had to think about all of the habits that I formed while working from home and really try to continue those and check in with myself more, because it is a lot harder working from home right now, just in terms of staying focused and and not being able to leave my apartment as part of my like daily routine that I would have done otherwise.
Do you find that everyone's kind of going through the same kind of motions that you went through, or is it different from your side now that you're like, X years into it, right? You're in a bit into it.
I think that, I'm definitely observing people having the like, oh, this isn't an ergonomic setup. What can I do to upgrade my space? Or like, how do I compartmentalize my work day from the rest of my life when I'm just like living in a box? And I think I feel like I have had some tips for my friends and colleagues in terms of things that I definitely went through. But I think that going through the motions only gets you so far right now. But it's like the least you can do. It's like sit on a pillow or raise your monitor or like find a corner that is separate from where you sleep or where you rest. And
it seems like everyone's getting a crash course in like all those basic 101 kind of topics right now, right? Under duress, but still a crash course.
I think one of the biggest themes I've noticed with working remotely that has kind of shifted during this climate too is that like trust is a big theme for remote work. Like managers have to trust that their team is actually working even though they're not watching them all day. And I know like my mom's company has been like recording her screen and she's really freaked out about that. And I feel like the surveillance aspect, I think that some companies who have no idea what remote should be like are like, how do I watch my employees? And they don't really get the transition. But I think it's been a cool trust exercise for everyone else to be forced into this situation. They're like, okay, I can't, like, how do I feel like my team is present with me even though they're remote? And what sort of new communication do we need to have to make sure that work gets done? And it's been cool to see how everyone adjusts to that and gets creative with it, because you're just kind of forced into this situation.
I hope like post all of this, it leads to like maybe less prescription, but more choice for people. Like, I think that's the biggest thing that I'm learning is that everyone turns out is unique or like has very specific preferences. And it'd be cool if workplaces or just labor in general was more adaptable, right, to people and can meet them where they are. I also could see a world where like a lot of managers don't have a job after like a year. Just because like it really then reduces your value, right? Like, because you're not, all the things that used to pretend to be like value, right, are kind of removed. And other aspects of the jobs too, like other jobs too, will get removed as well.
Mm-hmm. I think that one thing that I found as a freelancer and or a contractor is that I can get a lot more done in less time in general because I'm removed from a lot of office politics and all the hard conversations and everything that happens during the day. Because I think that when you have big teams, a lot of your work day isn't about work. It's about like managing people's emotions and trying to figure out how to work together and more like process and structural things. And since I've been separated from that, I can just do the work, and that's what my day is about. And I think that a lot of people are finding that they just have more time now because they're like, well, we're not having as many side conversations or like getting up to walk to lunch or there's less like gossip, but you don't really know what's on other people's screens. And I think that it's been surprising for some of my clients to see how much more time they have to work. What do I do with all this time? And there's definitely like pros and cons to that too.
And is it kind of like funny now, because I'm sure you must have gotten some hesitation from certain clients to like work remote, or they kind of wanted you to be on site, and now you're like, joke's on you, Mo. Like, now we're all remote, Mo.
One of my clients right now specifically wanted me to be on site, and now I'm remote. But I think that it was helpful that we had a conversation up front about how I usually work remote. So I don't think that they didn't have stress about like me getting the work done because I had already pitched myself as a remote person to them. So they're like, okay, just do the thing we said you're going to
do. You're drinking the, like, I was right, okay?
But it's been endearing to see their team try to figure out how to go through that. Like,
babies for Zoom.
Yeah, and just sort of updates to, they do these like daily updates of like what everyone did, so they can, I think their communication across teams is maybe even getting better and more streamlined, which is interesting to see.
Some silver linings through all this chaos, right? That's kind of nice.
Definitely. I think it's empowering for them to, whether or not people actually want to go back to any sort of remote work, it's kind of like, this has been a drill, and now they know they can trust people on this in these circumstances. Necessary.
Totally. A very, very painful way to get here, but I'm trying to get the most out of what we have right now.
Sure.
Katie, what have you done to like have people trust you as a remote person already, like before all this even went down?
I think it's a good question. I think I communicate over Slack and video a lot with clients, especially early on in an engagement, and try to establish a cadence of how we're going to work together so they know, like, you can expect stuff from me by end of day or by the end of our work week. And if I need feedback, I will check in with you on Slack. And I think it's all about like getting a rhythm with each individual and each team because everyone communicates differently.
Mm-hmm.
So just kind of like being overly communicative first until you establish that trust and cadence.
And then like kind of normalizing or regulating, like, but like starting with like a default that's like kind of higher than you would, that feels comfortable kind of, right?
Mm-hmm. And also like on a meta level, communicating about the communication. It's like, checking in on like, is this enough for you? Would you prefer that I just leave comments in Figma or just like send an update at the end of day? Or do you want me to like send you screenshots in Slack? And kind of like, I like to be adaptable to whatever makes sense for the team so that I can get like feedback that I need quickly. And so it's just like checking in on that and knowing that it's not one size fits all.
Do you think being a freelancer is like kind of really improved like the communication skills or like the communication toolbox that you, or is it something you're always like very, very good at or always like naturally came to?
I think it's definitely improved that. I guess I should add on that it's also increased my boundaries. So I'm not always on necessarily. Like I try to be as communicative as possible during the workday so that when I'm done with the day, like I've clocked out, I'm not going to talk to you outside of these hours. So part of that is also like people can Slack me on my day off, but like I'm probably not going to respond because I'm working with other clients or I'm working on my personal projects. So I think boundaries in remote work, and I think in all of life.
In all of life, right? Like healthy boundaries,
Mm-hmm.
I think it's kind of interesting too. Like, do you think like, obviously I don't want to prolong the state that we're in, but like if we're in here longer, if we're continuing to be in this state, do you think people will like have these kind of meta realizations about like, what is my actual relationship to this job or to this work? And then when you take out the office and the gossip and like what's actually kind of left, right? And we all will kind of be quasi freelancers in that respect, right? In terms of the emotionality to the work or the vibrations of it, right? Like you're just at your computer with like what you have to do, right?
Yeah, definitely. I think it requires a lot more discipline and like kind of construction of like imaginary structure around you. Like I'm sitting at my desk. Like I'm in my office.
I'm in my office.
Like this is my week plan. Like what I think that creating structure for myself was something that I also had to do, like transitioning to freelance, because I was very much like, so I just wake up every day and I do work at this spot and I don't have like annual reviews. How do I measure time and what is my like career trajectory? And I think a lot of it is like having to take accountability for that on your own and asking yourself those questions and noticing where you're floundering without structure, and sometimes that's helpful to observe. I'm like, oh, actually now that the boundaries between work and life are more easily blurred when I'm like, especially now, like living from home and working from home. I think that I just lost my train of thought, but
I think it's very like it's interesting because like when I was younger, like my first job working at Microsoft, like I kind of welcomed the structure because I didn't want to define it or take the time to really think it through. But now that I'm a little bit older, maybe this is just the act of getting older, right? Like I'm pickier about stuff, and like things that didn't matter before now do matter. So there's kind of a nicety or like a sense of comfort of making my own office, right? Like digitally or emotionally or like imaginary office, right?
Yeah,
Because it's my rules and my norms, and like this is like my made up kind of space, right?
I think when your job and your whole world start to blend, then you have
Yeah.
to be like thinking about your long-term goals, not just in terms of like your career, but your life. Like, because I'm thinking about my life more holistically now. It's
Yeah.
like on a high level, like it's not about the money for me. It's about having this sort of balance and flexibility and independence, and like how do I maintain that and kind of keep the bigger picture, and only take on stuff that I feel good about and that
Yeah.
fit in with my schedule. So definitely trying to like pay attention to more aspects of my life, which I think has been freeing. And I don't know if people being in their spaces during the workday will kind of open that up and make people think about what really matters to them more, but I hope so.
People definitely got time to ponder. I'll tell you that much.
Yeah.
Do you give yourself like an annual review? It's like, well, Katie, you've exceeded.
I guess like I think I do a little bit of reflection every time I start with a new client, because I find that like some things are easier when I start up again, and also just like reflecting when I do my taxes is maybe like that's
this
quarterly review time.
That's deep. Your taxes is your annual review. That's deep.
Yeah.
Very to the metal.
How much money I made, and like was I okay with my like balance of work this year, and also just I do a mini retro, I guess, in my head at the end of projects, and I'm like, would I want to work on that kind of thing again? Like, was that worth it? And I kind of redefine, maybe I need to make an adjustment to contracts or something, like something that felt uncomfortable, or I kind of make new rules for myself at like the natural endings of
the budgets,
and quarters.
Yeah. It seems like in general, the theme I'm hearing too is like you embrace the freelancing lifestyle and trade-offs because it gives you all this space to reflect, or forces you to reflect, and like not just on the work, but you're like holistically your whole life. And like the best version of this time is like we all kind of go through that process and really I'm reflecting a lot about like, why did I make so many excuses not to cook, right? It seems like I can cook 3 meals a day every day and there's no issue, like, right? There's obviously a time and commute aspect to it. But it is being like, oh, these are all the things that I assumed were defaults, but now I realize are options, right? Like, and so things come through. But it's also like during a gigantic traumatic event for for the whole world.
Yeah, definitely different. Like I have
it's
not
very different.
Focused.
Yeah.
Sure. Which
feels
like I feel more pressure, I think, being like not on salary, because I'm like, I'm charging for this hour.
So
I feel like I need to make this up if I'm not operating at full capacity.
I think everyone is operating distracted 100%. I don't think it matters what your salary payment is. Like everyone is distracted right now.
Yeah.
Cool. Katie, we went a little bit over than originally anticipated, but thank you for calling in and the sparkles. And also the chat is saying that Kirk's dog filter is freaking them out. So
it's okay. We'll swap it for the next person.
Change your shirt though to match. You're the new.
Yeah, I do actually like the shirt that's like now matching with this, and I would not do half bad as a dog. I feel.
Okay. Thanks, guys.
Thanks, Katie.
Stay safe. Be safe.
You too. Take care.
Bye.